The Amityville House terrified a generation. It was known as the most haunted house in America. The Lutz family moved into what they thought was their dream home, and just 28 days later, they fled in terror, leaving all their possessions behind. To this day, they will not talk about what happened that night to make them flee. But later, when interviewed, they said they experienced many scary supernatural things in that house. For example, they invited a priest to bless that house, and the priest said he heard a voice saying, "Get out." They said they saw green slime coming out of the walls. Mrs. Lutz was levitated in her bed. George Lutz felt like something was tying him down, pushing him down into his bed. One of the rooms was filled with flies for no reason. And one of the most frightening things is one of their kids said that they saw a pig-like demon creature outside of her window with glowing red eyes. So this was a media sensation, and local reporters actually brought in psychics and mediums into this house to see what they could feel, including Ed and Lorraine Warren. Lorraine Warren in interviews said that she felt dark spirits in there or demons in there immediately. She said it was one of the most haunted places she's been to. And another medium says she saw dark hooded evil figures around her. There was some kind of evil force that could push people back. And according to the reporter, they brought a trance medium, and the reporter said that she could literally see this woman grow in Adam's apple. And what came through the trance medium was a Native American chief that said that the house was built on burial ground, so he was angry and he wanted everyone to leave. So again, this was a sensation across the country. People flocked to the house to look at it. But over the years, people have looked more closely into this story, and they think that a lot of this was made up. For example, the pig demon with the glowing red eyes could have actually been a next-door neighbor's cat that was a very large cat. And you know how cats' eyes glow at you sometimes when the light's reflected off of them? Well, apparently a previous resident of that house called that cat the pig. And later I'll explain to you the other things that were debunked. But there is a true horror story that happened in that house, and that is with the DeFeo family. So before the Lutzes moved in, the DeFeo family that seemed like a nice, wholesome Catholic Italian family lived there. But apparently there was a lot of abuse from the father. And one night, in 1974, Ronald DeFeo Jr. got up late at night and at 3:15 a.m. went from bedroom to bedroom with a rifle and shot his parents and 4 siblings, killing all of them. He later said that he heard voices telling him to kill his family, and he said a dark hooded figure with black hands came to him and handed him the rifle. Now, he did use a lot of drugs, so some people think this may have been a drug hallucination, and other people think that it was actually his sister who handed him the rifle because someone saw her leaving the house with a hooded coat, wearing the hood, and wearing black gloves. But there are some things that police have never figured out that don't make any sense. First of all, they tested that type of rifle he used, and the shots would have been so loud that people 3 or 4 blocks away would have heard them. But their neighbors just next to them said they heard nothing that night, except a dog barking. And also, you would think that if he's shooting one person, that everyone else would jump up in fear. But no, all the victims were just lying face down on their bed and shot in their back, as if they had no idea it was going to happen. And they tested the bodies, and there were no drugs in the bodies. So there are some very weird, inexplicable things with these crimes. And the things that were debunked, so the green slime that the Lutz's family said was coming out of their walls, it's probably the green chemical that police put on the walls to look for fingerprints. And the flies mysteriously being in one room, well, the bodies were there for 2 days, and the heaters were on, and the windows were open, so it's not very strange that flies would fill that room. But even with all these things debunked, the story of what happened with the DeFeo family, and the fact that neighbors couldn't hear the shots, and the fact that the bodies, they looked like nobody struggled or moved at all, how do you explain that? Do you think it's just a straight family shooting story, or do you think there may have been darker forces involved as well?